All right, so you all know the drill, but for those who are just joining us, you're here kicking it with Control Can't. Welcome. We are a community built specifically for independent artists who want to get their music in TV and film, and that runs the gamuts of commercials, ads, games, trailers from major brands like ABC, Netflix, Hulu, Fox, Disney Plus, you name it. I'm one of your hosts, Daraj. I'm an indie hip hop artist based out of Orlando, Florida, and some of my credits include Call of Duty Mobile, Amazon, Facebook, and I actually be announcing tomorrow. I got a placement with T-Mobile recently as well, so I can add that to the list. And joining me is my amazingly dope co-host Eric Campbell, songwriter, composer. His credits include Greenleaf, Shameless, Love and Hip Hop, and we've been in this space as independent artists and producers, and know the power of making our music available for TV and film. And we want to just create a space for other artists who are wanting to be on that journey and have their music, in some of these premium spots or these premium brands. So we do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, and we just have real conversations with industry gatekeepers. We do song critiques every Saturday. We do Q&As just to give you all the tools on what it takes to succeed in sync licensing. And so for all of our resources, you can go over to controlcamp.com. The link is in either mine's or Eric's bio. And if you want to stay up to date with, our new room, or excuse me, our rooms that we have and all the resources we're dropping, just make sure you follow the camp. If you're not already following us, you can find Control Camp and our profiles at the bottom. It's the first room on the far left. Yeah. And so with that said, welcome to the camp. Today we have a very special guest with us, music supervisor Rosie Styczynski. I hope I said that right.
Thank you. That's it's weird. There's two. My family pronounces it half pronounce it one way, half pronounce it another way. So there's
What's
like
what's the two pronunciations? I want to hear
so there's the way you said Styczynski, and then there's the more Polish way, which is Styczynski, which I think is easier because like basically
Styczynski. Styczynski.
in Polish, like which I don't speak Polish, but I do know that CZ together is like CH in English.
Ah,
So
okay.
Ah.
yeah, so Styczynski, to me that's easier. I don't know.
So when you
Okay.
introduce yourself, what do you say?
I say Styczynski.
Okay, so then you will be Rosie Styczynski today.
Although I honestly, like, before the advent of social media, like, people who I knew quite well, friends and whatnot, um, they didn't even know like I had a last name because there aren't many Rosies usually. Like I don't think I ever had like a class with another Rosie. But I know
Mhm.
there is another music supervisor Rosie. I don't know if she's in here or not, but
Yeah, Rosie Howe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, she comes.
yeah. So I guess now people need to know my last name just to differentiate.
Very cool. Well, we're so glad to have you here. Rosie's been with us many, many times. Been on the stage, shared information, shared very graciously. But we wanted to take today to really kind of dive more into just you and your career, more specifics about kind of what you work on. So let's just jump right into that because, yeah, you have 3 titles in a company that looks like you've been at, correct me if I'm wrong, but the entirety of your career. Like you've
Correct.
grown with this company. So there's a lot
Yes.
that would definitely want to dig into that. So let's talk about the 3 titles: producer, music supervisor, and director of post-production. So does that mean that you're both on the music side and the video production side?
So basically, in a sense, yes. So I not only handle music supervision for the company, and I'm the only person. I don't have a team besides like our assistant editors who help me, but like I don't have like a music team. I know a lot of places do, but it's just me. Um, so that's a lot. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. So there's that, but I'm also a creative producer. So a creative producer in the trailer world is kind of like, in regular advertising, it's kind of like a combination between an art director and an account executive. So we're, kicking off with the client and getting notes from the client, just kind of conceptualizing the whole thing with the client and what we're doing, copy down to copy and what maybe, ideating on what the graphics are going to look like, just kind of the whole look and feel, right? And then a producer works with, for me, I work with our creative director and our editor, as well as the graphics people. And before I was handling music, our music supervisor as well, but that's me now. So, it's the whole team working together to create the trailers or just like oversee the campaign as far as whatever our involvement is within the campaign.
So
that's kind of more like a leader. It's more of like a creative leadership role, not the creative director, but I would say kind of right up there, like right next to that.
But you're also, sounds like you're looking very holistically at these campaigns. So you're not just being given a campaign and saying, okay, where does the music sit? But you're thinking about music at the same time as you're thinking about, I guess, visuals or what's the story being told. Like you're looking at the whole thing holistically, I'm assuming.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I kind of think of, because I'll work with our graphics people quite a bit as well to kind of come up with, they're creating things, but I'm definitely like giving a lot of input of what our graphics should look like, meaning like, the main title, what does the main title of our trailer look like? If it's Toy Story is already a brand, but I'm just looking through some stuff that we worked on. We worked on this movie, The Wife, which was a Glenn Close movie. And it's, what do these graphics look like? What do Can You Ever Forgive Me graphics look like? I work with them to create that. And you're right, I do look at it holistically. And I especially look at the graphics and the music as the packaging, right? Which is, you can tell the same story, but if you swap out the music and you change what the graphics look like, the packaging of the story changes, right? So,
Right.
yeah. So for me, like, I know that my strength is more the packaging.
This is so like my bad. I'm gonna jump in here real quick, Eric, because I feel like Rosie, you're like speaking my entire language right now because I come from the background of like traditionally I went to school. I have a bachelor's in digital arts and design, so I'm familiar with the branding space and designing and speaking that visual language. But I've also have this other side of me that is very competent in music production and songwriting and all that kind of stuff. And so it seems like you're kind of teeter-tottering in both of those worlds. And so I'm curious, I guess, to know your background a little bit more. Like what kind of, I guess, schooling or training did you have to kind of prep you for these types of roles? Because that's just fascinating to me. I've never met like a music supervisor who's has their hands in even that part, like as far as designs and some motion graphics and title art and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, well, I will say, so I'm not the one creating the motion graphics. I'm working with our motion graphics team to be like,
Right.
oh, but what if we tried this or what if we tried that? Although I will like quickly mock
But
something
that's a
up
skill
on like
set in itself, though. I mean, even that takes another mode of thinking.
And
So
you
that's
speak the
really dope.
language, and you can speak the language, which is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will like kind of pull like references or, scrap, or I'll kind of like put something together in like a very like basic look and be like, what about something like this? But like obviously in the way that you do it.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
yeah.
So your
So
background was
my background, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, schooling wise, the traditional background of it, I mean, when I was in high school, I was very much involved. We didn't have like a film program in my high school. I went to this all girls Catholic school. It was really small. We didn't have all the kinds of things, but I was very involved in theater, even though I'm not gonna lie, guys, like I do kind of find theater often a little cheesy because it's very like overdone and overacted. But I knew I wanted to work in the film industry. Um, I like love David Fincher movies, and I really just I was like, I want to be a film director like David Fincher. But I didn't honestly know like all of the jobs that exist right within the world of the film industry. Um, so in high school, yeah, I really just worked in theater, for my extracurricular. And I also like took photography classes to learn like that aspect of it. Again, thinking like film director type of thing. And then I went to Michigan State. I thought about going to an art school. I really had my eye on School of Visual Arts in New York. I thought that, I don't know, it seemed like a cool place to go. But I went to Michigan State. I kind of wanted like just a classic college experience, I'm not gonna lie. And I studied telecom, video production, and media there. That's like the whole, like that's what the major is called. And then took like, there were different tracks in that, and I did video production specifically. And I also did a specialty in film. We didn't have like a film school per se, but if you combine video production and the film specialty, you kind of got a pretty good, I don't know, a pretty good foundation, I guess.
Right.
So I did that, and I feel so lucky to have been able to do this, but I did a film in London study abroad program, which was really cool. I'm super, super grateful to have had that opportunity.
So
And
let me interject
then,
real quick, Rosie. While all
uh-huh,
this is going on, where's music? Where does music fit
yeah.
in? Whether performance or anywhere or DJing or like where does music come into this?
Sure. So I was just at the time, again, because I was like so focused on film. I mean, I was really just kind of a consumer of it. So that was all my traditional training, right? I guess you could say. And my non-traditional training, and I only kind of like realized recently that this really wired my brain in a certain way that I didn't really realize other people's brains weren't wired this way. I started dancing when I was 3, like in dance classes, and I started competing when I was 4. Like I started with tap. I was like on stage with a solo at competitions when I was 4 years old. And I did it through high school, and that really wired my brain for music and movement. And my strength, I did various types of dance: tap, ballet, jazz, lyrical. I haven't did clogging. I tried acro, but
Yo, that's awesome.
I'm too like scaredy cat for acro. But tap was always like very, very, very much my strength. And I also, in middle school, they make you pick like band, choir, blah blah blah. I cannot sing, so I was like, oh, let me go try to play the drums. I also had a drum set in my basement because my brother played the drums. So I played the drums in middle school, and through some of high school, I couldn't play it through all. Just I was overstretched with activities, extracurriculars, and homework and everything. So honestly, like the music really, and I've always been like a huge music fan. But the reason my brain is wired to do this is really because this kind of like off chance that my mom signed me up for dance classes when I was 3. It happened that I was like decent enough that they put me into competitions right away, and I did it through all of my child. I mean, like basically, I feel like I learned to do that and did that more than anything in my life.
That is so cool. Just the integration of the two, the film, the drums, the dance. It's interesting to
Yeah.
dance because I think it was Jess Gramulli a couple weeks ago who also said that she did dance in her background, I believe. And I was just watching today a production video by Timbaland, one of my favorite producers, and he was going into his process, and he was talking about how part of his production is visualizing people dancing to his music, which is part of my production process. He's always been kind of like seeing how people move, and so just the tie between dance, creating music, hearing music, thinking about music, just whether you're moving your body, whether you're playing. I'm a drummer, so playing drums, like the tie between rhythm and music, and that leading to a career where you're required to understand how music works with movement and film and bodies moving on the film, and it's cool to see all that connected together.
Totally. And it is, it is, I guess, for people who have had that background in one way or another, it is such a common thread. And it's interesting, in the trailer world, they say drummers make really good editors, but I think that there just traditionally haven't been a lot of editors who are also dancers, because it's probably been a more male-centric industry, whereas like competitive dance is typically more, it's girls more than boys. And growing up, so I feel like dancers, especially tap dancers, because tap is percussion, right?
Exactly.
Also, and not that I am a trailer editor, but my, it's probably why my brain is wired, I hope, fairly well for this industry. And it's interesting because it's like, I don't even know, like, it's just the way my brain is wired. Like, it's just how I grew up. So I don't really know anything different, if that makes sense.
Right. That's interesting. One thing you said too, tap is percussion. That's a little nugget for me. I didn't even think about that. I've always looked at it as a form of dance, but I was like, yeah, it's very much so percussion.
Yeah.
And real quick too, Rosie, I don't think I know you're in LA now. Where did you grow up? Because I heard Michigan State. Is that where you're from, or?
Yeah, I'm from the Detroit area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. My wife's from the Detroit area too. That's awesome.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom grew up like in the same neighborhood as Stevie Wonder. He's a couple years younger than her, and
Wow.
some of those Motown bands were playing at my parents' like high school dances before the Motown groups were like blowing up.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is very cool. Okay, so from school, and say again, what was your major in school?
Telecommunications, information studies, and media, and video, and then it was a video production track.
Gotcha.
Sorry,
okay.
The major name is so long. Sometimes I'm like, what was it again? It was really, when I started, it was telecom, and then like halfway through, they made it this big long thing. But yeah, telecom and media basically, and it was a video production focus, and then I had a film specialty that I added in.
And so, upon graduation, did you go right to InSync? And did you know you were looking for like an editing position, or doing trailers, or doing music supervision? Where were you intending to go, and then how did it land at InSync?
Yeah, so this is like if I'm talking to like younger folks kind of out there, this is something so important, is to, yes, focus on something, but don't be so like narrowly focused that you're missing the other doors opening. So I interned actually when I was in college. I had the opportunity to intern at the Donner's Company with Richard Donner and Lauren Schuler Donner. However, it was during the summer. Lauren Schuler Donner was out filming. Oh my God, what's that Amanda Bynes movie? Oh my God, I can't remember the name of it. Where she's the soccer team. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. Anyway, they were not in the office, but it was basically, it's a development office, which is, if you want to be a film director, which I was still in college and didn't know things yet, that's kind of where you go. Well, I realized that is just, oh, she's the man. Thank you, Shannon. She's the man. So yeah, I just realized like I had to read a lot of scripts all day and write script coverage. And I got to tell you, that's just like does not fit my personality at all. I just like can't sit, read, and like write script coverage all the time. All of it. By the end of the summer, I wasn't even there that long. It all started to sound the same. And I realized, I was like, that's not for me. Like, I know I want to work in the film industry, but that ain't it. So then after college, I actually moved back home for, I think it was about a year and a half, or like almost 2 years. There were just some things going on. I wasn't ready to leave my BFFs also. And then one day I like was at work and I looked around and I was like, I can't live here anymore. So I moved to LA. I mean, like, I always knew I was going to. It was just like a matter of time and when and whatever. Moved to LA, was looking for an assistant position. I figured if I looked for an assistant to a creative, like executive, I would land somewhere that I would like. So, I mean, I was really keeping an open mind. Although when I hit the gas, I was still thinking like, when I hit the gas leaving Detroit to go to LA, I really was thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a film director. But I got like maybe a mile out of my neighborhood and I was like, what does that even mean? like I know what a film director is, but I was like, what path does that even mean? Like, what am I doing? So, so I was just looking for assistant positions, and I knew I was like well equipped for, that. And I think I'm a fairly smart person, and, I figured I was at least equipped to find an assistant to a creative position. I just didn't know exactly where that was going to land. And it turned out it just like landed in the trailer industry. I wasn't, that probably sounds, I don't know. I wasn't like gunning for that. It's just what happened. And I got there, got my bearings, and like 6 months in, I was like, oh yeah. This is it. This is for me. This fits my attention span. And I liked how it was the intersection of all the things. Like it wasn't just working on one film for like 5 years or whatever, and then that's it. No, you get to work on multiple films, and we were only theatrical when I started, so we didn't even work on TV. But that changed.
Let me just interject because
Uh-huh.
we didn't say this in the beginning, and many of the people who come to our audience all the time by now understand kind of what trailers are and how they work. But what just for the new people who are joining us, we're talking about not, like you said, not making movies, but making the marketing promotional things for movies, for TV shows. So the kind of the trailers like that are like the commercials, advertising coming up, this week on. Do you do for broadcast or just movies? So you do everything, all the types of trailers.
Yeah, we do mostly theatrical and like streaming.
Okay,
I would say.
So it
And
might be so stuff coming up on Hulu or stuff coming up on Netflix.
Yeah.
Or
Amazon.
And then I see on the website you guys have done trailers for Charm City Kings. You've done it for Perry Mason Show. You've done it for Trolls World Tours. Like lots and lots of movies, lots of TV shows, and all the.
And I will say too, there's like, for one campaign, let's say Trolls World Tour, it's not just like our company that was working on the AV. We call it the AV campaign, the audiovisual campaign. Like one company, and I think Kelsey may have touched on this, one company might do the trailer, and then like 3 companies might handle the commercials that you're going to see on TV.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So we worked on the TV campaign for that.
Awesome.
But like Charm City Kings, we did the trailer for that. And if there were TVs, somebody else did those. And even like social spots, like maybe we'll work on those too, but maybe, maybe it'll be another digital company. We also did some Charm City Kings TVs, but again, like another company or HBO Max in-house might have done some too.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're at InSync. Are you starting out? Are you doing all the things from the beginning? Are you doing music supervision and like what did that come later?
That came later. I was assistant to our creative director, vice president, creative director. He was kind of like the second in the company. At the time, the company was only like 20 people, basically. So I was his assistant and learned everything I know from him. He also is a drummer. He was in a band in the 90s, a couple bands, actually. I don't know if anyone's familiar, but Lemonheads.
Oh, cool.
And yeah. Oh, God, what was the other one? I'm sorry that I'm forgetting things tonight. Anyway, he was in bands in the 90s. So I learned a lot from him. I feel like I learned I learned a lot of what I know from him, and then a lot of what I know from our CEO, who he's like a pioneer in the trailer industry. He did like the Home Alone campaign in like, what was it, the late 80s? I was like, you suckered me in when I was like 5. However, there's one thing that's been bugging me since I was 5, and he didn't have the answer. And it's the lower E in alone, like that the small E that leans against the N. It's been bugging me since I remember going to the theater and being like, why is that E like that? And I went and asked him one day, and he was like, I don't know, like it made design, I guess.
No,
I was like, really?
You're waiting for the deep answer, and it's like, I don't know, Somebody just wrote it that way, and that was it.
You really were born to be in the design space, because only a designer would like notice something like that.
Truly, truly. So yeah, so I was an assistant to him, and then our CEO. Then the guy who I was an assistant to, the VP, he left the company actually to go back on tour with the Lemonheads. And in that, somebody else moved into the creative director position, but that was when it was only like a couple of 2 or 3 years in since I had started. I picked up the director of post role, and that's like I oversee all of our mixes and all of our like the final picture that goes out, the color, making sure the graphics are right, but especially the mix, right? Especially when it's, when we actually can go to theaters again, those mixes in the theaters, those are obviously super important. And the final picture, the final mix, that doesn't happen at our place. Like, we're a creative agency. There are specific companies that are literally built for mixing for theaters.
And I'm going to jump in real quick. One, I want to do a room reset, but also I'm curious just to know like the process of how you all handle and curate mixing, for trailers, because I've heard of different stories of how that's handled. But before I get there, let me do a quick room reset for those who may have joined a little later. Welcome. We are a Control Camp, a community built for independent artists who are wanting to get their music in TV and film. I'm one of your hosts, Daraj, any hip hop artist based out of Orlando, Florida. And I'm joining me is my co-host, Eric Campbell. And we've had many of our songs placed in several different spots for different brands. And so we wanted to open up and create a space to help other independent artists who are interested in that, find a community support and also provide resources to help you along that journey. And so, again, we do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a ton of resources to help you just level up with sync licensing. So go visit controlcamp.com. The link is in our bio. And with that said, welcome to the camp. And again, we have music supervisor Rosie Styczynski. Butchered that. I got insecure from the first pronunciation we talked about. Anyway, she's with us, and we've been having just a great conversation, and didn't want to mess up the momentum, but I want to just kind of talk about that, because I've heard just how I guess how the process of mixing and the sound quality for trailers can get really scrutinized and put under a microscope to really have the impact that it needs to have when it hits theaters and it's in front of the audience for the first time. So maybe you can kind of give us a little bit of light of what that looks like when, a spot has been, finished and is at the stage where, you guys are, kind of grading and prepping it for the mix. Like, walk us through what that process looks like and how you critique and land to the final product.
Sure. So basically, our editor will send over, because this is a music group, our editor will send over like OMFs, picture stuff, but then OMFs or AAFs, as well as a reference. We send that over to the stage. That's what we call it, the stage, where they're mixing. And it literally looks like a mini movie theater usually. So they take it in, right? They ingest our what we call prep, and they ingest that. And they have Pro Tools and all the things to make our offline mix. Because when we mix stuff, like, we're just in Premiere, formerly Final Cut. So so they like make a beautiful mix, can put it in the surrounds. It just will sound gorgeous. And then we go in and we just make sure that it sounds what we intended. I know that like for the Whiplash mix, that was pretty cool. It was like the way we could put the drums into the surrounds was pretty incredible.
Mm.
And I think that was like, honestly, like people really loved that trailer, and I thought it was great. I thought it was a great trailer. I thought we came up with something good. That was actually my first, as a producer, you can kind of chime in like for creative on anything, right? Because you're overseeing the thing. And that was really my first like quote music supervision, was because I was like, oh, we should use this drumming as our back end and really like ramp up the energy there, and did. And I think when you saw it in the theater, it just ramped up and ramped up and ramped up and went all the way around you. And it's like, this drum's going crazy. And then it just, had that calm down at the end, that big note at the end, where it just like all the tension and pressure building just went, you just kind of deflated. And
Right.
so anyway, so we could like really do that at the mix, which we couldn't do in our own edit bay because we're just making like stereo mixes. But the mixers do that. And like if we have stems for the cue, like we did the Burnt Orange Heresy trailer, which is a Sony Classics movie. And we worked with a composer to create a custom track for that. And he gave us the stems. So when we went to the mix, which we don't always do, but we did it for this. So we went to the mix. They were really, really able to bring everything out. I mean, oh my God, I went into that mix. We heard that mix and I was like, I was like, wow, this trailer is good. Like,
Right,
this
right.
music sounds
It's one of them
great.
moments.
Like it sounded
Yeah.
fine in like the bay. It sounded good in the bay, but it was like, whoa.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's I'm always fascinated with that too, because when I was in school, I was attending Full Sail University, and they had a like a mixing stage like that on on campus. And so when they give you the tour of the campus, that's one of the places that they'll just take people who are interested in the school, and just kind of it's a very good selling point. But it's just a very like treated room, and there's the boards there, and it just like the whole process just feels like Hollywood in a sense, you know what I mean? Like, and I just
Right.
know the amount of time and finesse that it takes to really get that mix to feel right, because I mean, as artists, I mean, we understand to the point what you were saying is like when you get a mix back that just feels like how you intended to it, and you do the car test and you kind of listen around, it's just like, man, I can't wait till this hits the DSPs for the people to really appreciate the sonics of what's going on here. I can imagine that on like an amplified scale when it comes to trying to really lock in the mix for a trailer, because when you're in there, what I mean, it's like it's a selling tool, what I mean, it's just as much as the on-screen edits and the amazing motion and motion picture that's in front of us, but that audio experience is just as important when you're in the in the theaters. I think I just saw or not just saw, but when Tenet was in the theaters, it was funny because I felt like that mix was very bass heavy like on that film.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that in theaters or not, but I was just like, I just noticed more of those decisions now, because it really does affect it. Because even in theaters, like I couldn't like really hear all of what the dialogue was, just because of how the mix was treated for that particular spot for the room. You know what I mean? So yeah, I appreciate you expounding on that, because I just feel like that's one of those things, because for those independent artists as well who are looking to have their music featured, to understand the process that this music can kind of go through to get it to where it needs to be for the final product.
Totally. And yeah, we don't always take stems from the music into the mix bay, but in that case, in the Burnt Orange Heresy case, we had them just in case, and they did great, But yeah, we go in and it's like we're really listening to every fine detail, right? Because if you let something go, or if you're like, oh, I'm not going to chime in about that whoosh, it seems silly, and if you keep doing that, then you have a subpar trailer that's just like not that great. So, or I'm sure like it might be fine, but it's only fine, right? Whereas like if you're really giving attention to every little detail, every little thing, anything that makes me, for me, in the beginning when I was like starting this, and I would just felt like something would make me like blink, or like make me like kind of, you know, like, ooh, like kind of wince or something. And I would have to go back and be like, what was that? It's just like anything that makes me kind of like, I know that I need to speak up about it, even though if it seems silly, which sometimes it does feel silly, still sometimes it feels silly, but you got to do it. Otherwise, you know, you're going to deliver something that's subpar. And I feel like for musicians, like, do that too, you know, really listen to your mixes and think like, ooh, could I ramp this up a little bit more? Could I, you know, every little detail, because that's going to be the whole big picture.
I like what you just said, because that internal questioning and the thought of whether to question what you're questioning internally, whether to question that out loud, we do that all the time in collaborations, you know, and it's like,
Yes.
I got this crazy idea, but it sounds awesome in my head. But the thought to actually bring that to the collaborative space takes a certain fearlessness. So it's cool to see that applies, you know, across the board.
Totally. And I'm always like, push it, you know, like I also like direct all of our voiceover sessions. So sometimes I'll be working on like a voiceover artist, and, you know, I'll be like, you know what, let's just like push this one a little more this direction, you know, and it might come out sounding corny and we never have to use it. We never have to talk about it ever again, but let's try it because it might be great. So definitely like asking those questions out loud. I mean, we live in an era where you can command Z anything you don't like. So just do it. It is to my mind. You know, you don't have to start over.
But
might as well.
Your environment is, you're taking me down a different path than I was going to ask questions, but I like this path because this is creativity, and this is, you know, like I said, it applies to all of us. So your environment is so high pressure that I would imagine that, you know, it's very easy for different team members to feel like, one, we don't have time to take risks, or we don't have time to try anything crazy. So how do you keep the environment so that, we keep moving forward, but people feel comfortable trying stuff, just throwing darts on the board?
Yeah. So I think like one thing about keeping people feeling comfortable is just to not, like, if someone spouts out an idea and you're like, in your head, you're like, that's absurd. And like, I mean, like, legitimately, like, we're never doing that. You know, you can kind of do like well, and depending on your, you know, you just kind of got to gauge the situation. Like, do we need to turn the spot around in an hour? You know, it's kind of like, you know, thank you for the idea. You know, it's just about being polite, right? And making like a space that feels like good for, you know, creating creativity, a petri dish for creativity, right?
Right.
You don't want to create a negative environment where people are afraid, you know, are afraid of you or afraid of having an idea and sharing it. Like, you just want to make people feel comfortable. I guess that's what it really comes down to. And if you're on a time crunch, you just kind of honestly say like, would love to try it, keep that idea for something else. For this one, we have to go, but maybe for the next version we can do it. Or, you know, it's just about being like a decent human, you know, and not just like poo-pooing people's ideas in a rude way.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. So, we're at the point where, so we get you're overseeing all the things. So, you're getting a bunch of trailer work. About how many projects we're talking, like a year, that you know, whether you want on a month or a year basis? Give us an idea of how many projects. Is it kind of like one that occupies you for a few months, or is it like a new one every week, or what's kind of the rate?
You know, hopefully they stagger themselves. If I pulled up a job list right now, we probably have like, I don't know, 15-ish, 18-ish jobs open, currently active, but that doesn't mean I'm getting calls every day about these 18 projects. Hopefully, but hopefully they kind of stagger themselves. So like, you know, we're kind of working on projects A, B, and C, and then we hand those in, and then, you know, just the way the schedule worked out, we're working on D, E, F, hand those in, go back to A, B, C, you know, back and forth.
There could be a crazy time where you've got like 6 on the plate at the same time because the due dates are overlapping.
Absolutely. But Yeah, I mean, we kind of just, you just juggle, you just figure it out if you need help. Luckily, I work at a company that's like, everyone's super helpful. If I need help with something, or if I have to find music for some trailer and I need to turn these, picks around in an hour, these selects around in an hour, um, maybe there's somebody else I can rely on to make sure the mix stage has everything that they need.
So
Yeah.
for the projects as they come up, at what point now that you're looking more holistically at everything, where usually does music come into the thought process, into the creative process? Is it from the very first thought as you're thinking of
Yes.
everything else? Okay, so you
Yeah.
you already
Like
know
as
what
I'm
to say.
watching the project, I'm thinking like musically, where can we go with this? When I was, for example, we worked on the Paterno project for HBO. And as I was watching that, um, again, this is kind of like whiplash. As I was watching that, I was like, oh, maybe for the teaser, we were doing a lot of projects or a lot of things for that, but we were doing a teaser first. I was like, maybe for the teaser, we could use the Joe Paterno, the chant that, I mean, it's kind of iconic, and also that movie was tough, it's just tough subject matter. But I thought if we could use that almost as a music bed for the teasers are, for those that don't know, teasers are more like not so plot driven. So they're my favorite thing to work on because you can be a little more creative. You don't have to tell all this, get into this lengthy story or lengthier plot. It's just kind of a more simple, usually a higher concept thing. So for that, I was like, oh, we could use the Joe Paterno chant, which we did with a rise, and it just turned out pretty cool, if you ask me. But I thought of that while I was watching the movie. So from the moment, even sometimes the moment, like we currently have a project a project in-house, but we're not going to be working on it for a while, but I already am familiar with the material or with the property itself, so I've already been thinking about it.
That is great. Okay, so you get a music idea. Where in your mind, where are you going to find it? Do you have a set, like you said? I know you said one, you actually went directly to a composer. Do you have composers you always deal with? Are you dealing through agencies? Are you dealing with independent artists? Where are you normally pulling from, or do you have a regular set of places you pull from?
Yeah, so I have like a couple distribution lists, though I tailor them to what I'm reaching out for. Um, there's like I kind of have like a library distribution list, and then I have like a label and publisher, etc. Distribution list, and that the reason I do that is because budgets often factor in. Unfortunately, budgets exist, and that should be my quote. Unfortunately, budgets exist. Um,
I'm going to use that from henceforth. I'm using that from now
yeah,
on.
it is unfortunate. Um, but so sometimes we're not gonna be able to use a cue from a label. I mean, most times we can't use a bigger cue, and we have to turn to library music um, or a very, you know, inexpensive song. And oftentimes too, like sometimes the project just calls for a more like library cue score kind of feeling thing. Um, so I have those two distribution lists. That again I tailor. Like if I'm looking for a comedy cue, I'm not going to go to the place that they are self-aware that they don't, they do Christopher Nolan stuff really well, but like they're not going to have something for the Notebook necessarily.
Gotcha. Yeah, we had when we had to talk with Kelsey. One of the things she was saying that she gets a lot of people sending independent artists who will send music to her in her emails, but just because of the way the emails build up and get buried, realistically, it's hard or unlikely that she gets to those. It's hard for someone sending music to her through an email to end up actually in a trailer. One, because the queue of music he has to listen to, even with her going home every day and listening to music every single day, the queue is still like ridiculous. And two, she tends to, when she's in a crunch or it's midnight and they got a deadline, she goes to her mailing list. She has, a certain
Yeah.
number of people she goes to. And so for that reason, in our conversation, it seemed like and someone just starting into the space to do business with her, it was better to affiliate with the library or the agency as opposed to just going directly was just too unlikely. Is yours? Would you say you would be similar or different?
I am mostly similar. When she told me, or when she mentioned in this room about her queue of music to listen to, it made me honestly like took a weight off my shoulders because I'm in the exact same position as far as like I forget how many she said, but I was like, yep,
It was like
literally
500 or
same.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I was like, in my head, I was like, oh my God, literally same. And I was like, have been feeling personally, I've been like feeling a little bad that I haven't been able to get to it yet, but at the same time, I'm just doing my best. But I was like, oh, good, it's not just me. That's honestly how I felt. So I'm sure it's not just her and I. And so that's exactly right. I mean, if I see somebody's name that I know in my inbox, I mean, just like anybody, right? If you see somebody's name you know in your inbox, you're gonna shoot over to that first. It's just kind of natural, I think. And yeah, so I mean, if I see somebody from a library, I'm gonna just probably look at theirs first. Now, if there is another, you know, personal connection or something that you have with them, obviously, just like standard networking rules or whatever, you get in touch that way. But also too, like with a library, like they're gonna send out your stuff not only to for my search, but they might send it out 10 times in one day. So they're just going to be, it's kind of a more efficient way too because they're just going to cast a wider net.
Right. That makes so much sense. It's really good to hear, and I love that. I feel like in these conversations, we're getting to, at least we're getting to come to a real place where people understand. The more we understand realistically how things work in the sync world, then the better people can strategize how to move. So the more accurate picture we paint, the easier it is to come up with some type of plan or strategy. So this
Yeah.
is
And one thing Kelsey touched on, I think, and I just want to reiterate it in case there's anyone new in here, is that um, we might be using a song in, version 2 of a trailer. She went through how versions work, where you like version 1's our first cut, then we get notes, then we go up to version 2. So we might be using a cue in version 1, version 2, version 3, but then suddenly some like, super high up over at the studio might be like, oh, I love everything, but we got to change the music for whatever reason. So, it's like, oh,
Womp, womp, womp.
yeah, it's like as much as we loved it, obviously we used it in their first version, we have to change it. And, it sucks, but it's just kind of the way that happens. So like just because somebody is using your music, you find out somebody's using your music in a version of something, just hold tight. Hold tight,
Right.
honestly, until it's online.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm curious too, Rosie. I've I think there's different supervisors that have just different preferences or who are more open or less open, quote unquote, unsolicited emails. Like for you, like which, I guess, how open are you, when you see someone who, is sends you a no particular, relationship, on the onset, but what's the likelihood that you would kind of give ear to say, like, if they got their ducks in a row, I might actually, to
Yeah, well, I think you hit
or
it
is it
with
so,
the oh, sorry, I
like
think
for
you
you,
cut
is
out
it,
for a second.
uh, yeah,
Okay.
sorry, like the last part of it is like, is it a situation where you're kind of more like, no, I really only prefer, music coming from an agency or, another company that has, you know, a certain established, roots, you know what I mean, is more trustworthy. Like where's that level for you?
Yeah, so I and again, and kind of like you said, like it's different with everybody. For me, I don't mind. I mean, if you have your ducks in a row, make sure the ducks are in a row so you don't leave anyone in a lurch later, because that sucks. Um, if you have your ducks in a row, I don't mind it, but also, like, please don't be offended if you don't hear back. Like we were saying, like, we have a queue of 500, you know, tracks to get through, or 500 emails with playlists or whatever they might be. And it's just, you know, it can just be overwhelming. And yeah, so please don't be offended. I think that's my biggest
Yeah.
thing is I'm like, oh no, people are gonna like think I like hated it or something. And it's like,
No, yeah.
no, I just have a lot of
That's
things
that's
and I
yeah,
will
that's
get
one of
to
those
it.
that's one of those things we try to encourage people to have a very thick skin. I mean, we talked about it last week, you know, with the overcoming anxiety and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, you know, going into this, you have to kind of develop a certain you know, skin and armor to kind of know like, hey, don't take it personal. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
keep moving. But
Yeah, just keep the expectation. I mean, if you keep if you manage your own expectations, then that's good. I mean,
yeah,
people don't mean it personally. I mean, if they do, that's like, if there is one person that's, you know, whatever, don't even worry about them because there's so many
right.
other people, and most people
Right.
don't mean anything by it. I mean, if you've messaged me and I haven't gotten back to you, it's not personal. I just like literally haven't gotten to it. I mean,
I feel
it's
like
just so much going on.
yeah, yeah. And so I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
And I feel like I need to take a poll on this, like with every supervisor that comes through. Like how, like when it comes to you know, exclusive versus non-exclusive agreement types and agencies that, either only like you know that everything in their library is only rep by them and there won't be any kind of cross pitching. Like how what like for you, if this is ever been a thing for you where you've gotten um pitched a song from two different agencies or two different sources, like how much of an issue is that for you? Is it a huge headache, or is it kind of like, it happens, we can work through it, it's not the end of the world? Like where does that land for you as far as like I hate this or it's cool? You know what I mean? Like where is that for you, if that makes sense?
Sure. So for me, it doesn't bother me as far as like finding music or anything like that, or like using it. But I do, like, if two people pitch a song to me, right? Or have pitched a song to me, I don't know. But it was like this one like, okay, let's say somebody in March of 2020 sent me a song, and I don't know, they sent me a song. In October of 2020, I put out a search request and somebody else sent me that song, and I end up using it from that search request. I mean, like, I would hope that the person from March isn't upset if I list the person from October or whatever on the cue sheet, right? So, I mean, again, I think if everyone's just like respectful of everybody, and I will say, by the way, like, I'm very lucky where I don't have to handle the licensing too much or at all on my end. So that really happens for us. It happens at the studios and networks more. So I
Gotcha.
don't have to like kind of get involved in that mess too much. We just send cue sheets.
Oh,
But
even as you choose the music, and you can choose something obscure, you guys don't track it down and do the clearances. The studio normally will do that.
yeah, I mean, we list as much information as we can on a cue sheet, as we can find. And also, honestly, like, if there's something really obscure and we can't find all the information on it, we might not be using it. Like, the studio is going to have us replace it anyway if we can't,
Gotcha.
if people can't find information.
That is,
So, but it's pretty much, yeah. I mean, in that sense, I kind of have it made. Knock on wood.
yeah. You can be totally creative. You can,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That
That's
sounds
Yeah.
like.
awesome.
So is that why you've been there so long? Because like you get to write,
That's the
you get to do
reason.
all the things and be totally
I
creative.
do. I do get to do a lot of things, and it's nice, and I'm very appreciative. I mean, again, though, like, I am the music department, so to be doing all of that for our entire company would be wild.
Yeah. It sounds like we're out. Rosie, this has been such a cool discussion. I'm so thankful that you shared so much with us. You've been very, as always, you've been here before, and you're always very generous with um, uh, your feedback. But I appreciate the chances to really dig into more of just your background and how you got where you are. And it's very cool. Every supervisor, the path is totally different and very unique. And so appreciate getting your path to where
Yeah,
you are.
thank you. Thank you for having me. And I think
Can
that's
I?
like one huge thing is like everyone's path is unique. So like if you didn't if I don't know if there's any like aspiring music supervisors on here, but like if you feel like you didn't go through this like specific, first I have to be a music coordinator and then I have to do this and I have to do that. Like yeah, sure, that's nice. But like everyone's paths are different. So just keep sight of that and don't keep the blinders on too much where you can't see the doors that are opening on your left and right.
I love that. So we're about to transition into the Q&A portion. I'm gonna do a quick room reset, but before that, I always like to ask like a fun kind of random question.
Ooh.
So yeah, so Rosie, what is your favorite 90s or 2000s music video? hmm I went there.
Okay.
Uh,
It's
what we
gonna
got?
be yeah, it's gonna be and I don't know if I don't know if it's my favorite, but it might be. It's definitely way up there. Aaliyah's "Are You That Somebody"?
Come on now, Leah. That's
Yeah.
that's my that's my girl, man. All right, all
That
right.
song. So I like pretty much only liked alternative music before I heard that song, and I heard that song, and I was like, oh, maybe I don't only like alternative music.
Yo, so fun fact about me, Aaliyah's her in the last album she came out before she passed, is probably one of the few albums that I can listen to from like top to bottom without skipping a track. Like
It's
I loved
so
Aaliyah
good,
coming up.
so
Yeah,
good. I almost said "Rock the Boat," but I had to say, which is great, but I had to say "Are You That Somebody" because it was kind of my bridge.
yeah. I can only picture. Well, no, that was a dope one too. I was trying to like when I had this question, I was like, what is my favorite like 90s 2000? I feel like this is not the answer, but the only video I could think about was like the Busta Rhymes and Janet Jackson one. I
Oh
think Hype Williams
yeah,
did it when it was like all liquid and
Oh,
like
that's a dope
Terminator or something.
video. Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
that was the only one I could think of for whatever reason. So I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's very iconic. But anyway,
It certainly
cool.
is.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, thank you for entertaining my foolishness, but I had to ask. All
No,
right,
I love that
so
question. That was great.
awesome. So yeah, Rosie, we really appreciate you for everyone that's just joining us. We're Control Camp. If you've been with us, you know the deal. We're here. We're built for independent artists who want to get their music in TV and film, and we do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you joined us late, don't worry about it. We record all of these sessions, and so if you just head over to controlcamp.com, we have all of these replays available, as well as some PDF resources that we've created for you all to help in your journey with, trying to get your music into TV and film. And so for the replays, if you go to our Sync 101 page, the top banner has a link to our Patreon, and that's where the replays live. And, we record all these rooms, and if you subscribe, you get all of them, access to every past room we've done, and also all of the upcoming resources that we have. And so definitely get plugged in. We just drop a lot of gems, and it's really cool because these, like the way we've also formatted the replays, is that we put in an outline for the talks that we have in the Q&As, both Q&As, the Q&A with our special guests as well as the Q&As with the audience. So you get it semi-transcribed. We like to go, major points, and then we also time code it. So, these are 2-hour conversations, but you can kind of at a glance see what we've talked about and skip ahead if a particular topic, really interests you. So yeah, we have that available at our Patreon at controlcamp.com if you head over to our Sync 101 page. And yeah, we're just really excited, Rosie. Again, we thank you for giving us your expertise, your insights, and your encouragement to our community. This is invaluable information. It helps every artist that's here, every producer, every songwriter, to gain a little bit more insight on what it takes to really thrive and have a career, and also have the type of music that someone in your position is looking for. So we're trying to build up a well-educated community. So without further ado, I see Eric, you were pulling a few people up. I'm not sure if did we turn on hand raising yet?
Yep, hand raising is
Okay.
open. So if you got any questions, feel free to raise your hand and we'll pull people up. There can be questions directly for Rosie based on what we've been talking about trailers, or there can be general questions about just sync licensing in general. We want to welcome some of our regulars to the stage who are also able to provide feedback on a variety of topics. We got Steph, Psychosis, Chimera, Koichi. How are you all doing? Good to see you all.
Hey, what's happening, family?
Welcome. Hey, what's up, Ramar? Welcome to the stage. And so, yep. Just so if you've been here, you know how we do. We try to do one question. After you ask your question, we're going to put you back down into the audience, so there won't be a follow up. If somebody needs a follow up, we'll pull you back up. But we'll actually just get right to your question. No. People can look at your bios to see kind of what you're about, so we no need for introductions or lengthy intros. Just let's go through questions. We'll try to get through as many as we can, and then we'll just have a good discussion. Pull some first couple of people up, and once you come up, be sure to mute your mic, please. And let me refresh so I get the right order. All right, O'Neill, tell me how to pronounce your name, please.
Yeah, it's O'Neill.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very good. Welcome to the stage. What's your question?
Thank you. Yeah, so I have a question for Rosie. I'm just curious, for people who are applying for roles in music supervision or sync curation, essentially, what are important skills or experiences that you feel should be highlighted in the cover letter, essentially?
Do you mean like you're like just getting into it?
Yeah, I'm kind of I have a background, not to sound too twinish, but I have a background in theater, and I do art installations that are basically built on film and audio production. But I'd like to move more into the music supervision role, essentially.
Sure. So honestly, like a big thing for me, and this would kind of be for anything. We were looking for an assistant editor at one point, and this is what I demanded that they have is demanded is a strong word. It was really just for me. Critical thinker, right? I always want a critical thinker. And that's kind of broad, I know, but it applies to so many things, and it applies to so many situations. So that is like, I need to know you're a critical thinker.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, and also like, you could, to make it fun or whatever, you could like say what your last show was. I mean, now we're, still in lockdown. You could like put on like what your last show was before COVID hit or something like that too, to like personalize it a little more. But I'm always like, if I'm looking for anyone, I want a critical thinker.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sugar, you're up. How are you?
Hey everyone, how's it going? Thank y'all for providing this for us today. So Rosie, I won't talk too much about myself. Basically, I've been wanting to get involved with the film industry for some time now. I do have at least 10 years experience as far as production, and I'm proud that over COVID, I've solidified multiple clients for voiceover acting and creating basically audio commercials for local businesses. So I haven't really breached the music realm yet, but I am getting my feet wet. And I've actually discovered you about, I want to say a month ago, just kind of looking through LinkedIn. I've been looking up supervisors, I've been reaching out. So if you check your Instagram, you'll see me in there. I messaged you again, but I feel confident I have my ducks in a row, but if you would have me, I think I could be a great asset.
Oh, yes, I will look out for you. Sorry, my
Yeah.
messages get full.
No, totally understand. Totally understand. So I'm creating this relationship now, but I'm ready to
it.
and I offer professionalism and, a very good mindset when it comes to work. So I hope that you'll consider me.
Yeah, definitely. And hey, this is exactly the way to build relationships. There's somebody else that's kind of I've met via Clubhouse who, she's a little younger, a little maybe more junior than me, and so we've kind of formed this, new little working relationship, and I think you're doing the right thing by coming here and connecting.
Awesome. Appreciate you hearing me out.
Thank you, Sugar. All right, Mike, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are y'all doing? Thanks for having me up. I was wondering, so it's pretty big deal for my band. We got signed to Bank Robber Rough Trade back in late September, early October, and they have they have our last EP that sort of got us going and had some moderate success as a indie dream pop kind of band here in LA. We're trying to grow it out. So we got signed based on the strength of a unreleased EP. So what I'm wondering is, how important for supervisors do you think it is to have kind of stuff that no one else has and we're trying to plan the release right now, and we're trying to be sync-minded about it so that that's really important to us. But we just don't know how long to wait to do that. But is that an important thing to y'all?
So
right
I love having unreleased stuff that hasn't been used anywhere before. In fact, I'm currently working on a project. Is he in here? Oh, he's not in here.
I hope
I'm currently
pitching.
I'm currently working on a project with something that it's a song that hasn't been synced up, and it's a smaller artist. So I mean, one of especially for the trailer world, I think something that a lot of us, if not all of us, love is the possibility, and if it happens, great, to break a new band, right? And also we're on like we're supposed to be as advertisers, we're supposed to be a step ahead of everybody else, right? Which can be tough, but but I mean, also this is the world we're in, and this is we're getting this music sent to us and everything. So I love unreleased stuff because I want to be the first person to use that really good unreleased thing before it blows up and everyone else is using it.
Yes, it's so cool too, 'cause I feel like I think I've said it before, and I've heard it said before. It seems like music supervision in some way is like becoming like a new form of A&Ring. You know what I mean? It's like being able to break an artist.
100%. And I think especially like the trailer space, I mean, all kinds of spaces, of course, but like the trailer space is kind of a thing where I think people are often like, ooh, what was that song?
Right.
That is awesome. All right, welcome to the stage, both Clint and Jess Gramulia. Good to see both of you. And
The homie.
Yep. Mosin, how are you doing?
Hey, Eric. I'm well. How are you doing? Hello,
Doing
everybody.
good to see you. What's going
Oh,
on?
Mosin, my bad. I didn't mean to cut in. Eric sent me the disco sampler that you sent over, man. Your music is really good, man. I just had to tell you.
Thanks, man. That's so kind. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Eric. Um, it was really nice to hear from you, Rosie, saying that you appreciate unreleased music so much, because that's exactly where I'm at, and trying to get my ducks in a row. But I had a question regarding music libraries, and I've heard this over the past couple of conversations in such rooms, where it's a bit of a different perspective with how many libraries you should have your music put into, if that makes any sense. Some folks were saying that, if you have your music in too many libraries, it kind of saturates it a little and doesn't give it that kind of exclusivity. So in terms of a music supervisor, let's say if you are pitched the same song by two different libraries, is that a bad thing, or is that a good thing, or how does that work?
Okay, for me, and I'm going to want other people to chime in where they stand on it, but for me, it's fine if it's coming at me from multiple, from multiple people. It's really more of like, I don't want anyone to be upset if they have to know that they're not the only person pitching at it. So like, if someone pitches that song to me for the specific project I was requesting pitches for, I'm obviously going to list them on it, but for me, it doesn't bother me either way. But I want to hear what other people have to say about it too.
Steph or Jess, any thoughts on that?
I personally don't like it. I understand why musicians do it. It's more exposure for your music. But on my end, especially being the person doing the paperwork after the creative happens, the problem is who do I pay and who gets the cut? Because it's never like a direct split between. The only time it's okay is if like it's a label master side and a publishing side pitching it. But if everyone's pitching it one stop, especially like in the library setting, it becomes a headache on the back end. And when you figure that out, it's not usually worth it. I'm moving too fast and I'll just use something easier.
Great.
So I wanted other people to chime in. I'm glad that you
awesome.
had that insight, because I only have my like insight from gathering stuff to find, to use in the trailer.
It's like it's totally different when you have to do the paperwork stuff at the end. You're like, wait, what? And then you have to start over. It's really frustrating. But I get it on the musician stance. Like, it makes total sense to spread it out and get the exposure.
Totally. And definitely like having just what you said about, if the paperwork becomes a nightmare, they're just going to be like, find something else. That's definitely happened. So, I mean, and that does happen frequently. So, when the paperwork's a nightmare, I should say, that's the frequent solve to it, is find something else. So you really want to make sure you're buttoned up.
And I will just jump in to just add that, I mean, from a creator perspective, we're in a tricky position because, it's good for us to be in this forum where we can hear how business actually happens and what the supervisors who are actually selecting the music, who are actually doing the licensing, who are actually making all these decisions, what the thought process is. But before it gets that far, creators have to make a decision on who to entrust their music to. And a lot of times these are with untested relationships. You come across somebody you met at a conference, or and music got forwarded through a service, and the supervisor, you can, and there's only so much research we're really able to do on our ends. You can check the website, you can see how big the company is, what they're involved in, but you still have no idea what kind of hand-holding or how passionate somebody is going to be about pitching your music until you actually give them some music and see what they do with it. And so, a lot of the composers that I know, our mentality is well, one, to make a lot of music and kind of put that music out in a lot of places, but we can't all be killing ourselves at the same time, so we're trying to be strategic. And so some music is non-exclusive and you can share it with a couple of different non-exclusive libraries. Then that's to our advantage to at least get to the point to find out who are the real people who are really working on my behalf and for the style of music that I do. So it's a tricky spot to be in to figure out how to make that relationship. Adam,
One thing, sorry, Eric.
No, go
Do you
ahead.
mind if I just want to kind of chime in on what you're saying there? I think everything that you said is brilliant, and I think you do have to test out relationships. I think what Rosie said earlier is really smart. Like basically know who's speaking on your behalf. So I would just encourage everybody who's doing that multiple library thing to know when those relationships begin and end, and also communicate and keep in mind that you might have a song in a sync library and it can take months and months and months. Like Rosie said, somebody could have pitched that in March for something that was perfect that really didn't come up till October. And a lot of supervisors are in the position where they do download music and they do find things. They go, oh, where did I get that from? And then that thing in March then becomes the thing in October with nobody repitching it to them. So, you do have to be mindful that these relationships, take a long time to kind of come to fruition. Like pitching, there's not a lot of sync people that are actively pitching every song in their catalog every single day. They're just waiting for that one perfect thing, and that one perfect thing might take 6 months. So just something to keep in mind.
Look,
Hey,
I've had this
Eric.
didgeridoo cue in my back pocket for literally so many years.
That is so awesome.
I thought I had the perfect project for it, but it didn't work out. But I am just waiting for this didgeridoo cue.
I wish John
To use
Kleinbell
it.
was on here now because we literally in
Oh,
our section, we
yeah.
joke about didgeridoo cues all the time. And we could probably send you 100 of them if you need a whole collection of them.
I do know supervisors who keep cues and songs and have told me, they're like, oh, like I've sent songs that people are like, I still haven't found a place for that song, but I fucking love it so much. I'm sorry, I have such a bad mouth, but I love it so much and I'm going to find a place for it. I feel like every supervisor I know has those songs that they love. And I also keep songs that I love that, we haven't found a home for, but we're dying to do it. And I might not talk to that artist for a while, but doesn't mean we're not trying.
It's my back pocket folder.
Also,
Exactly.
Awesome.
I'll chime in one thing real quick too, with regards to because I'm like Eric from the creator side. Like I don't have all of my stuff isn't exclusive, but with regards to non-exclusive, like don't just get excited because someone's willing to take your stuff. Any non-exclusive is always going to put themselves out there that they can like sell anything. But I don't want to know what you're advertising to me that you can actually sell. I want to know what you sold. So I would do the best research that you can to find out, okay, like cool, you carry a lot of stuff. What are the relationships that you've built and the bridges that you cross on a regular basis? Because no matter what anybody tells you, most of the big houses will have something that they either kind of specialize in or something that just over time the industry or at least different circles of supervisors have painted like, oh, hey, if you're looking for rock, maybe go here. Like if you're looking for hip hop stuff, these guys are fire, So I would try to do that extra level of research if you can as well before just feeling like stoked, like someone's taking my music. But I like try to find the best possible path to getting that stuff like looked at and handled by the right people who actually know how to sell it best per se.
I wish Clubhouse had a bell for every time somebody said something amazing.
That's a great feature.
I agree too, because I was in a situation where it was like a newer kind of publisher or whatever, and what they did is when they started, they signed a bunch of people who already had a bunch of credits and was kind of established. So then on their website they put all these credits up there, but their recent the recent placements wasn't what you would think it would be based on the credits that they listed from the people who already did that work before they signed with them. So yeah, you definitely got to do your due diligence. And I always tell people, don't be scared to ask, like, what was the last placement? What, do you have a playlist or something that I can kind of see, what you're placing recently?
That's a great response, Clint.
Hey man, that's a vet talking right there. That's not common knowledge right there. Yeah, because it takes time too to build up even the courage, when you're first starting out to even, feel like I have a right to ask some of these questions. And it took a while to kind of, really gain the confidence to be like, you know what? It's okay to ask questions, you know what I mean? Because this is, at the end of the day, a partnership, like two businesses coming together to do business together. And so it serves you to just do your homework and treat your business well. And I think any, rep would be willing, to do that, to offer, the information that's needed to, if they're really interested, you know what I mean? Because it's just as much, it's a mutual, relationship that this is. It's not one-sided, but at the same time, there are different things that reps do bring to the table as far as, soliciting your music. And so you do want to be, humble and with your approach and with your ask and not be a jerk. Steph always say, just be human, you know what I mean? But that is one of those things to say like, hey, I do have to, take care of, my side, my music, how my music will be handled, because there are stories of people who've had, music in libraries for years and it just, doesn't do anything. And so that does happen, but it does take that level of research and confidence to ask the questions to get the answers that you're ultimately looking for.
Yeah, the devil's in the details. Look at the length of your contract. If there are reversions, how long do they get to keep it in there? And for those details that people don't pay attention to, like, Rosie was saying earlier, she dropped out for a second, but she was saying earlier, someone might pitch me something in March and then I get it in October. Who gets paid? And Jess followed up with, who gets paid for that? Because there's also things in some of these contracts, exclusive and non-exclusive, that for X amount of months after you pull your music out of that library, they still get to commission those things because there's such a long lead time on sync. Most good, sync reps have that in their contract. So just be aware of that, especially if you're handing it, to someone else. And also, we talked about this last week. These people are an extension of you. So know who's pitching you, because if they're a-holes, then people are going to think you're an a-hole because people represent your music. Sorry to say it like that, but I mean, these people represent you. So you got to know who's your squawk piece.
So good. That's awesome. And thank you.
Hey, Eric,
I was
I
going
got
to
a
jump in on
question
that
real
too.
quick. Oh, real quick. Eric, what was that one music library that you said? You and Patrice always talk about it. They actually they have like a back end that lets you know when something's been pitched or something
I
like
love
that.
them. Crucial Music. You can do submissions to them online. They're at crucialmusic.com, I believe. But I list them because, one, they take submissions online from anyone. Because of that, it takes them forever to actually review your music. You can submit up to 3 songs, but it might take them 2 to 3 months to actually get to it. And if they approve it, they'll get back with you for paperwork. But they're a non-exclusive agency, but I've been with them for a while, and I like them because they are the only ones that I've been with that post up every time they pitch I don't know if it's every time, but they post up where they've pitched your music to. And so you can actually log into your account and you can see that, you've got 10 songs in their system, and 8 of them have been pitched to specific opportunities. This was pitched to Shameless, season 3, episode 4. This was pitched to a Nike ad. This was pitched to, we submitted this when we got this brief. And so I don't know anybody else I haven't been around anybody else who's done that. Would you say Chimera?
I said that is so cool.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say before y'all mentioned that most of the libraries won't tell you where you got pitched, but some of them have done a better job of giving you some sort of analytics, because for artists, of course, or producers, that's like huge for us to get any kind of info or feedback besides the royalty check or the actual final check or whatever. But some of them have gotten better at giving you like a blanket list of songs like that have been downloaded or purchased or whatever. And so one thing that I've done is, that's still very useful information, because you could look at it and see, okay, on this platform, it seems to be that this is the type of song, or this particular song is the most popular. So maybe I'll, going forward in the future, put this style of song on this particular platform more or less based off that kind of data. So any little bit of information can definitely help you make better decisions as you're going forward.
Exactly. Okay, we've got Davo, then Adams, then Ada. I think we're going to do Davo, then we're going to do a room reset, and then we'll get to Adam Ada, be sure to keep your mics muted while you're on the stage till we get to your question, please.
I
But
would love to be in line as well. I have a question. Put me after them.
oh, sure, yep, you're right after
Nice.
Ada. So let's go on to Davo, and then we'll do a room reset.
All right, how's it going, guys? My name's Dave. I'm from Chicago. I lead a band called Attack the Sound here in Chicago. Pretty cool band, if I do say so myself. I think in some ways my questions may have already been answered, so I was just kind of sitting quietly. But I currently sit in I've got a non-exclusive contract with a group that's been trying to sync like one of our songs for the longest. And I was kind of coming in to ask like, what's the typical process on what it takes to be synced, and just listening to stuff you guys just recently spoke about how long the backlog is. Brink, you pretty much answered my question, but how long should I be comfortable waiting before I decide to pull my music out of that sync library?
That's a good question. My bad. I mean to cut you off, Eric, but the first thing that comes to mind is, whatever the contract terms are is the first kind of, boundary. Like if it's there for a year, then it's there for a year, you know what I mean, contractually. Unless they have some kind of, anyway, typically if it's there for, a set term, then you have to wait till after that term, until you can even kind of consider taking it out. So that's why it is good to ask those questions up front, to just see like, what kind of traction have they gotten, in the past, will they potentially do well with your style of music? But I know also too, like typically, like agencies are like, it could be monthly they're pitching out, or like quarterly, or excuse me, they're wanting, new music from you probably like monthly or so, but they're always pitching, to different opportunities, stuff like that. So sometimes it's hard to know what and how frequently it is, because it just kind of depends on the agency. But as far as your question, when to pull it out after the term of the contract, and then, if it hasn't, seen the type of traction you want, then, that decision becomes a little bit more relevant. Like, because I've pulled stuff from, catalogs that I felt like, I had one rep that actually forgot that he was repping my song. He came back around, was like, I had your song in my catalog, and I was just like, come on, dude. But anyway, I was gracious about it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's
I just wanted to say, oh, sorry, Eric.
no, go ahead, Kamara.
Well, I have pulled songs from a non-exclusive to hand them over to an exclusive that I thought would do something better with them. But for me personally, as just a rule, like I just want to be that didgeridoo song in the back pocket, and I swear the day I pull it, she's gonna get a brief for that song the next day. So I kind of just don't put too many songs in one library, if it's like the first time I'm working with them, and then just see how they do. And then I just kind of don't get precious with those songs, and I just leave it with that library personally.
Totally agree. And Dave, I would also say that I'll go back to what Clint said earlier, which is just checking out. I mean, you've already signed the song. We've talked about here before, like either way, we don't base too much off of one song. We're looking for like a relationship with this agency, and so the question is this an agency worth having a relationship with? And so I would be asking the questions of, what are they doing? Are they getting placements regularly? Is there somebody there that I'm talking to, that I'm able to talk to, that I can get responding to my emails, or that picks up the phone when I call? And then do I have some sense of activity? If they're getting regular placements and they're involved, and if I talk to them, I had a song at one agent library that was there for a few years, and I was really a fan of the song. And I was starting to regret signing it to them, but I actually had a good relationship with the agency owner. I had they were getting good placements, and I would talk to the agency owner, and I could tell when I talked to her that she treated the song the same way that Rosie talked about the didgeridoo song. Like she loved the song as much as I did. I believed that she was just as passionate, and that made me feel good, because I knew that she was out submitting it places, getting it someplace to land. And so I think that's the most important thing to look for, is like, what's the company doing Who are they? Are they moving? And, do I have a good relationship with them?
If I can jump in really
Hey, Jade.
quickly to hi. um, if I can jump in and just kind of share a little bit of my workflow. Again, it's 2:30 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning where I am. So I'm sorry if I don't make sense.
Scotland.
Scotland.
Yeah.
Representing.
Slancha.
Every Wednesday I'm here. I stay up half the night for you guys just to jump in and hear what you have to say.
We love you guys.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Eric said, just in terms of like try your best to vet the people who are going to be representing your music. In terms of like, I have some artists that sign with my catalog who literally just sign and then disappear for 3 years, and I have other artists who will sign and hit me up to the point where I have to set healthy boundaries and say, like, please only check in once every 6 weeks, or I'll give you a report at the end of every quarter to kind of let you know what you're being pitched for. And I do my best to stay in touch with as many of the artists as I can, because I have found that keeping my artists educated and in the know just kind of makes business work better overall for both the company representing the music, and then the artist has a clear understanding sometimes as to how things are working. But in terms of like workflow, you have to remember that when we're signing an artist, we're signing and then we're trying to gather all of your assets. And a lot of times artists can take quite a long time to get me all of the high res full and instrumental and album art and all of those things. So when you sign your deal, sometimes we're still trying to gather your assets from you. So number one is get those together quickly. And then we're pulling you into our system. Then we're like researching what shows your music could work for, what brands are working on what projects where you might be kind of in their wheelhouse. And like for me, I have thousands and thousands of points of contact that I personally have to stay in touch with across all media. I'm a bit of an anomaly because I somehow managed to try to do all media lately at my current job. Don't sleep. But these are all things to remember. And then every type of media has a different timeline. Like I'll pitch something for TV and it'll sit in an inbox, or I can see it's been downloaded by the music supervisor, but then like 11 months later, they're reaching out to me to license that song. Because like some people in here have said, sometimes they'll find an artist I'm pitching them that they just love and they put it in their back pocket. Other times they're just kind of cataloging it in their email, and then when they need something, they're searching their email by keyword to try to like find what they need before reaching out. So I think for artists, it's just important to be educated as much as possible on the varying timelines, all the steps that it takes just to get your music pulled into your music company, like the system that's representing you. And then, yeah, like you can try to stay in touch with whoever your rep is. And when you're looking to sign with a company, if they're being responsive and engaging with you from the outset, that's a pretty good sign. That's my offering. Okay, I'm done.
Ding, 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 ding.
That's the bell. I love it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Want me to do a quick reset?
Yes,
Eric?
sir.
All right. Yeah, so for those joining us, welcome. We are Control Camp, a community built for independent artists wanting to get their music in TV and film. I'm one of your hosts, Raj, hip hop artist based out of Orlando, Florida. Alongside me is my co-host, songwriter, composer, Eric Campbell. We both had multiple placements in a lot of spots, but not here for us. We're here for you all. We are just wanted to create and curate a space in a community for indie artists to learn what it takes and to build a sustainable career, getting their music placed in TV and film and sync licensing. Earlier, we had our amazing supervisor special guest, Rosie Styczynski. Sorry. She had to jump off a little earlier, but she was with us. We had a great Q&A time with her. And if you missed it, don't worry, we have a Q&A or excuse me, a room replay from earlier on. And we'll be posting that on our website, controlcamp.com. If you swing over to our Patreon, it'll be there. But now we're doing our Q&A session. So if you do have questions and you're in the audience and you just want to kind of, throw your hand up and we have a panel of very skilled and professionals that have been in this industry for a while. So we're here for you to answer whatever questions you have. And with that said, I'm going to hand it back over to you, Eric.
All right. I think next up we've got Adam up next. How you doing, Adam?
Long time no speak, guys. How you doing?
Very good. Very good. What's going on?
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys for, hosting this twice a week in the community and responding on Instagram and stuff. Like, it's really nice. Keeps us all motivated. Feels awesome. So thank you for that. But my question is, yesterday I was in a room and So yesterday I was in a room. It was more directed for like people pitching actors or script writers or producers, directors, and there were some pretty legit directors and producers in there. And I showed my music, the song I showed in the group last week, and a producer director really liked it, and he said he could see it in one of his shows for sure. So then I sent him a DM on Instagram after following up and thanking him, and he replied. So here's in terms of relationship building, like myself as Adam, like I wouldn't be afraid to go and send him my music and go balls to the wall. But now learning the industry and there's certain ways to navigate things. Like, would it be appropriate to say, hey, would you be able to connect me to your music supervisor for this show X, Y, and Z? Or how do I build a relationship? Or when is the point where I ask him to connect me to someone like one of his music supervisors that he's worked with before? Because it seems like a good end to me. It seems like a clear sign, but I don't want to jinx a relationship and go in too early.
I got an answer for this, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Thank you, Steph.
I would say it sounds like you have an in already, and I would go slow. Number one, be comfortable. And I would phrase it as, hey, thank you so much for taking an interest in this song. By the way, if you'd like me to talk to your music supervisor on the show, I'd be more than happy, since they're not normally the people to handle that anyway. That's a really good way to kind of just dig in that you would like to be in touch with music supervisor, and maybe float the idea that he should probably connect you, he or she, I shouldn't say that, he or she should connect you with, their music supervisor anyway. But feel out the conversation. If this person's taking an interest in you, just be easy. Don't over follow up. Don't, just kind of give it some space and time. People are usually busy. And feel it out. But I think doing the, hey, I'd love to keep talking to you. I also recognize that you're busy. If you want to float me over to your music supervisor, I'd be, more than happy to also send it over there, and it would be an honor to talk to any supervisor on any of your shows, and you can name whatever show it is like that. Maybe just to phrase it like that. If anyone else supervisor wise or director wise, I'm also a film producer. I like when people are smart, and not pushy, and are doing something to me. If I were having that conversation with you and I was wearing my producer hat and someone said that to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, you're right. You know what? That takes this off my plate and gets you what you want. Cool.
Thank you so much, Steph. Thank you for that.
I have more information to share. I have different experiences depending on different types of producers too. A lot of the times the producer wants the creative say, so it actually might benefit you to continue, like Seth is saying, talking to the producer directly. I find that when they think you're legitimate enough and they want to do business with you and move forward with you, that's when you'll be connected. You most likely won't even have to ask. They'll do it themselves. At least that's how my producers work. And sometimes the producers in my world, especially the brand world, they have more of a creative say. And so they will be driving the ship sometimes. And so if they want to use your song, they will go, no, this is what we're going to use. We want to use him. Here's his contact info. Here's the music. And just have me set up the paperwork and clearance side with you directly. So there's this opposite side, and it really falls back onto what Steph is saying. It's just like kind of not tiptoeing, but just slowly building the relationship and not being too pushy to figure out where they stand, how they operate, how they work. Because a lot of the times they will guide you without you having to ask, just because you're maintaining a relationship. And it kind of goes back to what we say a lot in this room, is just making it human again. Just talking to people without pushing your business agenda. It'll kind of fall into place that way.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
And also, someone mentioned it before, but like, if you're going to start going in that direction, have all your assets ready to go. Like, if those aren't ready right now, like, they need to be ready. Like, so stems, instrumentals, like all that stuff, good to go. Because the last thing you want is for you to actually be put into a situation which could be like a rush situation, and you go hold on, like let me get that stuff. Nah, no bueno. Like, so have everything as good to go as you can.
That's the number one right there. Wait, ding, ding, ding. that's literally the number one. At Eric and Daraj, I don't know if you guys have this on the site, but if you don't, I'm sure our lists are similar. And if any of the supervisors want to tell me what they like to, I mean, when we sign new artists to Music Box and we onboard them, and you guys have been through this before, we actually usually send out an onboarding letter. We do not send songs without all of the things. I will not pitch a single second of music from anybody that we create internally or represent for anybody externally without all the stems, all the lyrics, the split sheet, everything that you need to go, including the WAV files and the high res files for things to go. We just don't do it because things happen so fast, you know? So at any level that you're dealing with for sync, you have to have those things prepared. And that's why you hear every single person in this room repeat, get your shit together, you know, because you never know. But I can give it to you if you want to post it.
I was gonna say shout out to Katrina and Disco for making that super easy for everybody.
Yes.
Disco is a lifesaver.
Yes, it is a lifesaver. And I'm making dinner right now.
What we eating?
That's what I was gonna say.
What we having?
But yes, Disco has really quickly become industry standard for pitching for sync. So I do encourage anyone in this room who hasn't checked us out to give it a whirl. It definitely gives you a leg up when you're pitching to supervisors who are also on the platform. Kind of creates this ecosystem, if you will. And there are over 600 supervisors on the platform now. So it's kind of the bulk of the community.
Yeah, we're going to schedule a deep, in-depth Disco discussion. So looking forward to that.
We should do that. Get real nerdy with the logistics.
A few minutes ago.
What'd you just say, Psychosis?
I said I just did my upgrade on Disco a few minutes ago. So yes, Katrina, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, I'm setting up the library now.
There's lots of new stuff on the horizon too that people will be stoked about, which we can talk about another day.
Awesome. Okay, we got Ada and then Kamara and then Karita. So let's do Ada first.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Ada. Everyone
Ada.
thinks it's Ada.
What's up, Ada? Sorry.
All good. It happens all the time. But yeah, it's Ada. Nice to meet you guys. I'm an artist and songwriter. I live in LA. I have a ton of songs. I have a few released and I have a bunch unreleased that I think would be really great for sync. And I am just looking to connect with music supervisors. I would love to connect with all you guys, and I would love your advice on how to go about connecting with music supervisors such as yourselves and sending my songs. So if you guys have any suggestions about that, how to do like an initial email or I don't know.
Sure.
I usually just
that sounds like a
yeah.
No, definitely. Yeah. And that's, we get that question a lot, and that's, even one of the reasons why we created this space. But so we've actually we talked about a few different times on our on the rooms that we've had. And so we've, from those rooms, we developed a PDF resource on our website over at controlcamp.com, which you can download. And we have, 7 ways on how to, approach and engage music supervisors. We also have one on, 4 steps on how to get major placements in TV and film. And so that could be a great starting place for you as well, with your journey. But, if any other, supervisor did want to add to that, feel free. But that's a resource that we, created and made available specifically because it, is definitely a question that we see and comes up a lot.
I guess the one thing I will add is if you've been in the rooms before and if you read the PDF of everything, the one thing I want to say and follow up to all of that is please actually ingest the information you're taking in, because I'm finding that after our rooms every Wednesday, I'm getting DM'd and messaged exactly what we talk about not doing. And so it is something like very important that I wanted to remind everyone is that if you're taking the time to reach out and you make a point to mention that you listen to what we were talking about and then you do the opposite of what was being talked about, that's your business isn't tied up kind of a thing for me. So then I don't want to work with you because you're doing the opposite of what you told me you just did, which was listen to what everyone was talking about and the advice from these awesome people in this room, in this space. So I just want to flag that.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. And also too, we have a replay of that whole room. So if you, again, we try to double down on a lot of these things and just stress the importance of, you got to engage people as people, but also know what the audience is that you're talking to and what their needs are. Like you can't approach any relationship or business opportunity without having that level of empathy before you send any music over. So I would highly suggest anybody who still is unsure about that question or even thinks they're sure about it and they're new to this space, definitely go to our Patreon and check out that room replay and download the PDF resource to get good, because that is what's going to set you apart and help you skip the line, and be able to create a career in this space, because, if you can't get past that barrier, it's going to be an uphill battle for you.
Very, very well said. Very well said. Okay, let's go. Camara, what's good?
Hey, yo. Damn, this is a great call. Thank you so much. You guys asked all the best questions already in the beginning, but I love getting these tidbits on, your work. Like Jaden, thank you for sharing a little bit about your workflow and what goes on your side of the desk, for the musicians to be aware of that. And so one thing I was wondering if someone wanted to speak on a little more was the actual timelines that you guys have to deal with because they say that music is usually the last thing to get put to film, and I'm curious also if it's different for trailers and versus commercials versus in TV shows. Like, what are the timelines like? And is it always a mad dash, or is it sometimes a little more relaxed with different types of placements? So yeah, just curious if anyone had any gems on that.
Hey, I'm back.
Rosie's back.
And that's the perfect question for me coming back. I'm sorry I had to dip out. Our CEO called, who I work hand in hand with for creative, and had some notes because our timeline is super quick. Timeline in trailer world is super fast. Everything's just go, go, go all the time. So I had to jump out to get those notes. So I apologize for that. But yeah, timelines for in trailer world are crazy. And musically, we actually, that's one of the first things we're looking for. While the editor is breaking down the movie, if I hadn't already been thinking about it, that's when I'm pulling all the music, getting it together to get to them, because a lot of times trailer editors will create their music bed and then put picture to that instead of getting their picture together and then putting music to that. They essentially create their music first.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
I can speak to this a little bit too, since I kind of work across pitching to a bunch of different media areas. It really does depend on the media area. Like Rosie said, trailers are one of the fastest turnaround times that you'll see. They're working super quickly. They need ideas the day they hit you up for them, or maybe even the day before they hit you up for them. And then film is a little bit different. Film, generally, you have a longer lead time. Film productions take longer. And so when I'm pitching to film projects, sometimes those are projects that aren't coming out for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months sometimes. And so those have much longer lead times. They'll generally give you like a sense of what they'll need for the entire film, and then kind of update that with specific scene needs as the production goes on and as post-production continues. TV can be similar to film, but generally is a much quicker turnaround time than film is, because they're working on a quicker timetable of production and post-production. Ads generally are a bit quicker too, but every once in a while there'll be a project that has a longer lead time and kind of more development.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I just had an ad rep hit me up for something literally like right now, and they're like tomorrow noon. So I'm like, cool, all right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I think it's all who your sources are too, man. I mean, because like if you have somebody that, you know, they have like in-house people and they're not making what they're needing, then they're gonna go out to the next guy, you know, that guy. It's usually me when I was starting out, but they're like, hey, I need this like right now. So then it's just like, you know, you all said, it's all basically who your source is. That's how you know how much time you're gonna have. Like sometimes they get it at the last minute. And this is right now. I'm just bouncing something and about to start the next, so I thought I'd chime in as well.
I think that's all really smart. I think it's also also really important to remember in these really fun pandemic times that moves timelines. In television production and advertising. So, you know, they go with specific things and then something happens in the news that week. That happened a lot in early and kind of mid-pandemic where people would be going for, and then the news would change and people would be like, no, we can't be too optimistic or we can't be too this. And they pull the entire thing and start over with creative. That's a common thing. We had something happen this week where Eric and Duraj were working over the weekend, like minute to minute, sending us stuff for an ad campaign that was supposed to be a 30-second spot. The client liked it and said, wow, we wonder if we could make it a whole campaign. And then we went back and had to make a, you know, full song out of it. Now we're like on third round. We don't get excited though, because we know that there's a lot of wood to chop in an ad campaign. They could just be like, you know what? We're not going to use this campaign after all. And then they don't even make the commercial. So, you know, that happens. There's also for animation or other, you know, projects like that. We've started projects like COVID-wise. We started a project in 2019 for an animated movie that we're working on with Nickelodeon. Didn't hear from them again. We thought we were done until March. By the time, you know, that had happened, the week they reached out, COVID happened. Didn't hear from them again until November of that year. By then they had rewritten the scene, which meant we had to rewrite the top line, you know, and then for them, even though it took a full year of that process, when they do reach out, everything had to be done within that week. So it was super fast. It was like, hurry up, wait, and then hurry up again. Super fast turnarounds, and things turn around in less than 24 hours. So it really depends upon what medium you're working in, who you're working with, and, you know, what the state of the world is at that time.
I think it's safe to say, if you don't engineer your own stuff, have a really good relationship with your engineer.
That's right.
Real talk.
Big.
This is great. All right. So first of all, let me just say, Koichi, you're like the honorary control camp. You get the big prize today because you just got a call saying somebody needs something by like noon tomorrow, and you're like, yeah, as soon as I get done with control camp, I'll get on that. So we appreciate you hanging.
Yeah, buddy.
That's dope.
I texted some links out. Don't worry.
My man.
Coffee's brewing. I know that.
Jess knows. Yeah.
All right, so we got Karita, then Vondi. Those are the last two questions. I forgot to say we got a special announcement we're gonna make at the end of this, and then we got we're gonna go to the after party if you feel like hanging and just having a little more casual chat for members only. So if you're not a member, be sure to click on our profile so you can become one and come hang with us. Karita, what's good?
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is having a great evening today. I don't know if this was asked already. I unfortunately joined in late, which I dislike a lot. But I was wondering for the music supervisors, when do you actually start the process of looking for music? Is it is it during the spotting session? After that, is it before that when you get the script? Like how early do you start?
For Trailer World, it's kind of depends. It's like if I know we have a project coming up that I'm super pumped about, and I already know I'm familiar with like the property itself anyway, so I already kind of like know the vibe. So I'm actually like kind of actively listening, or just like even if I just like put on my Spotify or whatever, I'm like, ooh, that might be good. That might be good. But when we officially get assigned a project, I'm looking immediately because our editors need the music like basically to start cutting. But that's more specific to Trailer World. But I'm always also just like actively looking and trying to create my back pocket playlist.
Yes, I second what Rosie said. Just one up that.
Awesome. Thank you, Karita. And Vandi, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys?
Very cool. Vandi's always here, no matter what time you're in Portugal, but always coming through. Appreciate seeing you.
Shout out to Portugal in the building.
Yeah, it's 3 a.m., you know.
So
But yeah, I was wondering about like disco. Like everyone is talking about this platform, and I did the trial, and I'm like willing to join. But like, wouldn't it be great if like one of these platforms had a system where you can like clearly differentiate like artists from supervisors, and like have like a rating system where like this supervisor already liked this song, so you're probably gonna like this song too, and like opportunities for artists, or is there some platform like that where like artists can like be up to speed with like briefs and stuff, or like is there something like that already?
Well, Vondi, do I have news for you? Half of what you're saying Disco can help with Disco Libraries, which is super new. It's in beta right now, which is probably why you haven't heard of it. But it's a way for you and artists and sync reps and labels and publishers to be able to have their libraries searchable for music supervisors. And since it's in beta, we're kind of gathering feedback from artists like yourself and labels and supervisors to figure out how we should map this out and how people want to use it. And there are definitely plans to kind of bring more opportunities for artists in that way. So if you are open to kind of chatting with us and our product team, it'd be cool to hear your thoughts on how you want that to look.
I would absolutely love that, Katrina.
Okay, cool. DM me and then we can talk this week or next week.
Yeah, I'm using
Thank you so much.
I'm setting up the Disco library right now, actually, and I'm really excited about it.
Nice. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to create a lot more opportunities for folks, and I think just make it easier for supervisors to find music on their time.
Very cool. Okay. So let's transition. Thank you all. There's a couple of people. I just want to shout out to Alyssa, Vo, anybody else who hasn't had a chance to speak tonight. Psychosis has been. You're here, a little quiet. What's up, bro?
I'm chilling, man. I know it was so many gems being dropped that I really, honestly, I've been taking notes and studying more than I had anything to say or add. So, but I definitely appreciate everyone that's been here, and Rosie for being so genuine and transparent to give us, an insider look as an artist. And I'm also trying to figure out how we could nominate Vondi for president of Portugal. 'Cause she definitely
she's
just
like consistent.
Yeah, she just slid in there like, yo, let's make this happen, and I'm over here like, yes. But yeah, I mean, I'm chilling, man, and I'm looking up. Shout out to Clint and Steph and Jessica and everyone else who's here. I love it, man.
How are you doing, Alyssa? Oh, she might have stepped away. Hey, Vo.
What's going on,
First time on stage?
Yo, what's going on? I love this. This is crazy dope.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, man. This has been really inspiring, super great. And yeah, I'll be here next week. I kind of jumped in a little bit late, but still lots of gems here on the tail end. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys for doing this.
So I'm glad you got to come up, Vo. Thanks for coming up and having a chat with us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll see you guys next week. This is awesome.
I also want to shout out Vo for being a beast at making music for Sync. We've never actually met, but I've got him a lot of syncs over
That's right. Vo is a beast.
That is.
I slid into Vo's DMs and try to get him here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, and I appreciate you greatly. All the support is amazing, and yeah, this is a great community, and yeah, super happy to see so many musicians interested in crossing over into this part of the music industry, and how it intersects with film and television and ads. It's really great. It's really dope.
This is awesome. Well, welcome. So glad to have you, bro. All right. So here's what's happening now. So we normally do this we always do this every Wednesday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then every Wednesday we usually will have either a supervisor or someone in the sync space that we'll do a Q&A with. So thankful for Rosie Styczynski, who came through today and really just shared so much with everyone about the work she's doing. So thank you, Rosie. Thank you to everyone who's on the stage. Next week, this is pretty dope. And I got
drum roll.
Yeah, I know. Who's Steph? We need drum rolls.
Can we get a drum roll?
Actually, Jess. Oh, she's good. She's creative. Jessica Ruadi set this up, but the music supervisor behind Euphoria, Atlanta, King of Staten Island, The Wilds, Umbrella Academy, The Resident, Creed 2, right? 2-time Emmy-nominated music supervisor Jen Malone. We're going to be Q&Ing her next week here, Wednesday, 8 p.m. So come through. Can't imagine all the gems.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right.
Heck yeah.
What happens?
Man, I ain't got all that. I just said she's awesome, man. She is amazing.
Yeah,
she's really one of the best in the business for sure.
It's going to be fire. It's going to be fire. So come back
guys,
for that.
Before people leave, I just wanted to say thank you so much for A, having this space for everybody, and B, for having me today.
Oh, you awesome, Rosie. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
Rosie's amazing.
Thank you.
Even if we have a hard time pronouncing your last name, Rosie, you ain't here. We love you, girl.
It could just be like Rosie, that girl with that crazy last name.
Styczynski. Did I say it right?
That was it, bro.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
That was it. Yeah.
Styczynski.
Styczynski. I'm out here.
I see you.
Hey, so if you're a member, come over. We're gonna open up the after party room. It's a less moderated space. If you want to we don't pull people up. So if you want to come up and say something, just raise your hand, and everybody comes up. We just chat. We get to know each other. We get to know the club members. So come on through. We hang out for at least an hour over in the after party space.
And if you're not a member,
become a member and
It's
come
free.
through. Yeah, it doesn't cost
Do you
anything.
guys mind if I quickly promo my room I'm gonna do tomorrow?
Oh, please do.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do I'm setting up a room for tomorrow to just chat about the Sony AWOL deal, and I think you guys should all come by because I think it's gonna be. I think it makes for a really good conversation. We're gonna have a lot of people from different perspectives, and it's when it showed up in the news, I know a lot of people were chatting about it online. So I was like, well, why not do a clubhouse room about it? So
awesome.
It'll be tomorrow, 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. So come on through and let's have a chat and see how you feel.
That's awesome. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. That's going to be a nice discussion. I'll be there. All right. Thank you, everybody. And this Saturday, don't forget, we have the music listening session. So go to controlcamp.com. Profiles in my bio and Darage's bio. I mean, the website's there. And you can submit a song to be reviewed on Saturday and for its sync potential. So we'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you Saturday. And hang out right now. Come over to the after party and chill with us. Thank you, everybody.
Deuces.
Woo, thank you.